Back in late 2022, the world of education was just completely turned upside down. The public launch of ChatGPT wasn't just another app. No, this was an explosion. It signaled a massive turning point for classrooms everywhere. So how in the world do we navigate this brand new terrain? Well, UNESCO has stepped in with a global roadmap, and we're going to break it all down. So, just how big was this explosion? 100 million. That is the number of monthly active users ChatGPT hit in just 2 months. I mean, to put that into perspective, it became the fastest growing application in history. It left every viral game or social media app completely in the dust. But here's where the story gets really complicated. You see, while the public jumped on board, hitting that 100 million user mark by January 2023, by July of that same year, only a single country had released any specific regulations for generative AI. This huge gap between the tech and the policy created a pretty dangerous vacuum, and that's the core problem we really need to solve. Now, the first big panic in schools was all about students cheating on homework, right? But as UNESCO's new guidance makes crystal clear, the hidden risks and dangers of unregulated Gen AI go so much deeper. We're talking about fundamental challenges to the very idea of education itself. Okay, first up, Gen AI risks making something called digital poverty even worse. See, the development of these incredibly powerful models is heavily concentrated in the global north. This means that regions with less data aren't just getting left behind, they're at risk of having their own cultures kind of colonized by imported values and norms that are baked right into the AI's training data. And then you've got the whole controversy over how these models are even built. Most of them are trained by scraping just enormous amounts of text and images from the internet, a lot of the time without the owner's permission. And this has kicked off huge legal battles over copyright and intellectual property, which raises big questions about, well, everything the AI produces. This power also has a really dark side. Gen AI makes it easier than ever before to create incredibly convincing disinformation and deepfakes. All of a sudden, spreading fake news or unethical content becomes almost trivial, and that poses a serious threat to students and, frankly, the stability of our entire information ecosystem. And believe me, the list just keeps going. The models are often what we call black boxes, meaning we don't actually know how they get to an answer. Critics sometimes call them stochastic parrots because they're just mimicking language patterns without any real understanding of the world. They also risk polluting the internet with AI-generated junk, squashing the diversity of opinions, and pushing already marginalized voices even further to the fringe. So, with all of these massive challenges, what's the path forward? Well, that's where UNESCO's guidance comes in. It provides a clear, global framework that's designed to help us navigate these risks. It's a human-centered plan to make sure that AI serves humanity and not the other way around. This quote from Stefania Giannini, UNESCO's Assistant Director General for Education, just captures the core philosophy perfectly. The goal isn't for AI to replace us, but to use it as a tool that forces us, invites us, to think more deeply about what it really means to learn and to be human. So what does a human-centered approach actually mean? Well, it means putting people first. It's about designing and using AI to serve human capabilities, to build a more just and sustainable world, all while being guided by these core principles of human rights and dignity. And hey, this isn't just some abstract idea. UNESCO lays out a concrete 7-step roadmap for governments to follow. It covers everything from data protection to copyright law. This is not just theory. It's an actionable plan designed to be put into place right now. Let's look at one key part of that regulation, age limits. This is a big one. ChatGPT's terms say you have to be 13. But if you're under 18, you need your parents' permission. The EU's GDPR sets an even higher bar at 16. UNESCO advises that the absolute minimum should be 13, but it really urges countries to think carefully about what is truly safe to protect kids' well-being. Okay, so that's the high-level policy. But what does all this mean for the people who are actually on the front lines? The teachers, the students. How can educators take these principles and apply them creatively and responsibly in the classroom? The goal is what UNESCO calls human-centered and pedagogically appropriate interaction. Now, in plain English, that just means the human always has to be in control. The AI has to support real learning goals, not just act as some kind of fancy shortcut. Let's look at a practical example. An AI can act as a fantastic teacher's assistant, helping to co-design lessons, but you have to notice the balance here. The teacher's role becomes even more critical. They absolutely have to specify the goals and verify the facts, because without that human oversight, the AI could easily start imposing dominant cultural norms or even spreading misinformation. And the potential applications here are just so broad. This chart shows just a handful of the creative uses that UNESCO has identified, from helping with research to acting as a one-on-one skills coach. I mean, imagine an AI partner that engages a student in a Socratic dialogue to really deepen their understanding. That's the kind of potential we're talking about. So for schools and universities, the keys to using this stuff responsibly are pretty clear. They need to provide training, build skills in effective prompt engineering, uphold academic integrity, and this one is maybe the most important. They need to rethink their assignments to assess the skills AI can't replicate, like critical thinking and true creativity. And finally, let's just zoom all the way out. The arrival of generative AI isn't just about cool new classroom tools. It has profound, long-term implications for the very nature of knowledge itself and how we think. To really get the scale of the shift, just think about the history of knowledge. We went from oral tradition to the written word, then the printing press, and then the internet. Every single one of those steps fundamentally changed society. Well, generative AI is being positioned as the next massive leap in that evolution, a total disruption in how we create and share knowledge. And this sets up the core tension for the future of thought. See, on one hand, AI has a tendency to homogenize ideas. It just reproduces the most common dominant answers from its training data. But on the other hand, the entire mission of education is to promote diversity, to foster different opinions and unique creative outputs. This all leads us to one final, really provocative question. For centuries, writing hasn't just been a way to record our thoughts, it's been a tool for thinking. The act of writing helps us form our ideas. So what happens to our own minds when we start to outsource that entire process?